There we go. I like that music.
We've been doing this for a long time.
No, man, we were off last week. We're back in the studio. It's the Sunday special. Pastor Toby, Chuck Knox, I'm the water boy, and we got Mr. Blaine Conzotti. Did I say it right?
Conzotti.
I missed it.
Dude, I'm so sorry.
He's my friend.
Oh, is he? Not anymore.
And he taught at a Christian classical school before.
Okay.
There you go.
We'll give a full intro later. Notice I'm in my summer clothes.
Yeah, I noticed that.
We're having summer camp this week. It's called conference week.
Yes.
And so I'm in my summer camp clothes.
I'm in my 4th of July shirt.
You wear that every week.
I don't think we make that color.
Hey, we also have a live studio audience.
we got the Loch Ness Monster in the studio.
Sorry about that.
Thank you, Greg.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
Greg's here. Yep. You can make noises.
Not pleased.
Hey, guys, I'm getting so excited about the conference.
Hey, can we get a drum roll?
Oh, are we
ready for the jump?
Remember, we got Doug Wilson coming.
Yes.
Gay pulpits.
Yep.
Right. The politics of feminism, homosexuality, and unfaithful children.
Kids. Yep.
We got.
That's going to make all sorts of pastors mad because there's a lot of unfaithful pastor kids out there.
David Bonson, punk rock, home economics.
Yep.
Sorry.
Every
David.
conference he's going to get invited to is going to be punk rock something.
Yeah.
Never let him go over the past.
We got Vody Bacham coming with critical sex theory.
Yep.
How to keep Marx and Freud out of your bedroom.
Yep.
Ooh.
Drum roll.
Doug Tenaple.
Oh, yes.
Earthworm Jim.
Sex, Lies, and the Prophetic Poet.
There you go.
I'll be talking about Molotov monogamy.
Which is also going to be our conference T-shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Molotov monogamy.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then Saturday morning we got the SWAT Talks, and we're announcing SWAT Talks every show now till August. And we announced on Wednesday the Sheologians.
Yes. Diapers,
Summer
dishes,
and Joy are going to be there.
And we have one more person.
Maybe a special guest.
I know you're probably watching this show, or your husband is, and you need to get back to me.
Diapers, dishes, and Dominion.
Yes.
We announced that. Okay, and we're announcing a new one right now.
Our 20-second drum roll.
Our 20.
Jump roll.
See, he does it to everybody.
Is I really gotta wait.
Go.
Why all people matter with Rob Sense, Zach Lautenschlager,
Yes.
and Dennis Sarfati.
Okay. Let's just leave it like that.
Sarfati.
Which is going to be amazing, by the
Dennis
way.
and Zach are working together, right? Or is
They're
it
working on some projects together.
Yeah.
What is Dennis's thing?
So Dennis is working with basically end abortion legislation nationally, in a number of different states, South Carolina and so forth. He's getting a lot of progress and success and building some great connections.
Right.
Zach does a lot of political work.
He's a ninja.
He's a political ninja
on
the local
He's
level.
been laws passed for years. Remember in South Dakota, we had him on the show, and he's been working in the
Constitutional carry has been their family's legacy in South Dakota.
Rob Sense has been working on the Sansdemic stuff. We had him on the show a few weeks ago.
That's right. So the talk that they're going to be doing is basically the Sansdemic to abortion to kind of local political strategies.
Why all people matter.
Yeah,
I think their show, if there was a way to title it for me, I'm thinking Christian humanism. That would be another kind of subtopic of their show.
Why people are gold.
Right.
Dripology.
Yeah, dripology right there. That's right.
And of course, if you're a club member, you get a discount. So sign up, join the club, and then you log in.
$100 off.
$100 off. You log into the club portal. And there's where you sign up. So we had a couple of club members saying, "Hey, where's my discount code?" No, you log into the club portal to sign up for the conference.
And then automatically
That's
give
how
it to
easy
you.
it is.
Is it too early to say? I'm just feeling like this. I could be wrong. I think this is going to be the best conference we've done.
Oh,
I think this is going to be just the talks alone, not just the fellowship with people and singing psalms.
That's the thing is I think the one of the biggest things about these conferences that I should have known but I didn't know until I went was the fellowship.
The fellowship, man,
like hanging with people, seeing them in the just in the booths, walking in in the corridors. Hi, how you doing? Where are you from? The encouragement, the camaraderie.
Yep.
I mean, it's like a huddle.
You shut it down every night. The after party that with Don, after the after party with him. I mean, just that alone.
Psalm singing,
being encouraged by people who are in different factions at different places, fighting the good fight, coming together to get juiced again and go back to our home. That's just so good.
Well, and if you guys remember, this was last year. The Tennessee conference was our first conference we ever threw.
Yeah.
And it was during a pandemic.
Right.
And we were the only Christian conference in person in October last year.
Yeah, sure.
And we had about 1,000 people show up, and so we're expecting a big crowd, even bigger crowd at this conference. So
sign up,
Yep.
get your discount code, become a member. Hey, this show is brought to you by Samaritan Ministries. A broken bone, cancer, medical emergency. We know how quickly healthcare need can happen. That's where Samaritan Ministries comes in, connecting hundreds of thousands of Christians across the nation who care for one another's needs through prayer, encouragement, and financial support. It's not insurance, so you have the freedom to choose the health care providers, hospitals, treatments that work best for you. After you receive care, medical bills are sent to Samaritan Ministries. They notify members to pray for you and then send money directly to you to help pay for those bills. It's biblical and affordable, with sharing programs that start at $100 for an individual, $200 for a family of 2 or more. And you can join today. Don't wait for the unexpected to happen. Visit SamaritanMinistries.org/crosspolitics so they know we sent you today to see if healthcare sharing is right for you. SamaritanMinistries.org/crosspolitics.
I feel God right there.
Support them so we have healthcare.
No joke.
Just, so we have Samaritan Ministries too. You know what I'm saying?
But do you think the Cubans can get Samaritan Ministry?
Speaking of Cuba, no. Is it? I wonder
if they make the swim across. Could they get it?
I wonder if Samaritan Ministries is international. That's a good question. I should ask them.
I think they might be.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's actually kind of an interesting.
Of course, the Biden Homeland Security Secretary is telling them not to come.
So listen to this.
Allow me to be clear. If you take to the sea, you will not come to the United States. The time is never right to attempt migration by sea. To those who risk their lives doing so,
or staying in Cuba,
this risk is not worth taking. Again, I repeat, do not risk your life attempting to enter the United States illegally. You will not come to the United States.
You will not come. So they're going to hold. If they come, will they turn them back around?
Well,
so he's racist, right?
I want to know what Blaine thinks about this.
That's illegal immigration. He's racist.
Yeah, I wish there had been that hard line months ago when you had that flow across the border from the Triangle,
Mexico.
From South America and everything.
Yep.
I mean, that's the thing. Is like why are they not so clear on this when it's Cuba? It's like you stay away, but if it's South America, Mexico.
What are the political inclinations of the people coming across from Cuba compared to the people coming across from Central America?
They ain't going to vote for socialist
right?
democratic policies. Amen. I'm there. 100%.
So you're saying Cubans won't vote for Democrats?
Go to Miami, man. Every Cuban there, Trump loving, red state loving.
Wow.
Freedom loving person, right?
And so that would change the demographic of things. I just got done watching Tucker Carlson, and he was talking about the fact that we're actually moving people in buses and military planes who are illegals, and he's got the documentation that blew my mind. So I'm thinking, okay, well, if you're coming from Cuba and you're trying to flee, this is actually a real problem.
Right.
Like you actually have a serious problem in Cuba.
You could get killed in Cuba for shouting the word freedom.
Right, exactly. So you would think, well, okay, we take in refugees. Why, if you can make it here, we'll figure out a way. Hey, our borders in the South are absolutely open. So if you can make it here, why don't you just come through? We'll figure it out.
I think it was New York Times who reporting on the Cuba uprising were saying like words like freedom. It might not be New York Times, but one of the big newspapers said words like freedom are basically like insurrection language in Cuba.
Oh, wow.
The very word freedom.
Well, it was almost that way here in 2020.
Right.
Yeah, it was.
Right. We completely redefined what freedom was. Like freedom wasn't being able to control your own business or control your own house or who can come over your house.
What you can put on your face.
What you can put on your oh, come on now.
Yeah.
Isn't that the truth?
Right.
What you can put on your face was actually being legislated.
Right.
So here, Psaki, I like saying Psaki.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here, Psaki's kind of following up. She's initially responding to some of the comments from the Homeland Secretary in this first follow-up here.
Reiterate here that we support not just the role of protest and peaceful protest. We stand with the Cuban people in their call for freedom from both the pandemic and from decades of repression and economic suffering to which they have been subjected by Cuba's authoritarian regime. Go ahead.
The freedom from the pandemic.
But the question that was asked to her twice was, do you think the people are leaving Cuba because
of communism?
Communism.
Right.
And she said...
She couldn't answer it straight up.
This woman, I have
freedom from COVID.
That's what it
is. Pandemic.
And also freedom from being on an island.
Right.
And freedom from the sun shining on you too brightly.
Don't give him that much authority. I mean, but that's really interesting that the government shut down everybody, and she's like, they have a freedom. Well, did we have the freedom here too to do the same thing? I don't think Gabe did. Didn't you get arrested? I thought you got arrested trying to exercise that.
Well, you have that freedom if you, in certain respects, right? Because of course, if it's riots over George Floyd, right? That's understandable.
Right.
It's understandable.
Okay.
But if you
it's a riot over the pandemic.
If you're protesting masks or social distancing or having your business shut down, that's not acceptable.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah, I don't.
Did you follow that, Knox?
No.
Did you? You didn't follow that,
But
Knox?
I think he's got the logic right. That's what scares me.
And the Wall Street Journal even added this to what she said. They said Cubans are protesting by demanding freedom, food, and COVID-19 vaccines.
Yeah, maybe the problem for Psaki is that the Biden administration hasn't sent over people to go door to door in Cuba yet to make sure the Cubans are getting their vaccines.
Because that's freedom.
That's where it's
freedom
going.
is having people knock on your door and give you experimental vaccines, right?
No. But
right.
That's a.
But notice that, right? I mean, you can burn down businesses, you can burn down police stations, you can shoot police officers.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's understandable and justified.
Yep.
But the other thing with this is that this is kind of how the liberals are kind of protecting you against freedom.
Right.
But conservatives are doing the same thing. And I've actually reported this on the news brief on Thursday.
Right.
There's a ship cruise liner that is Norwegian, I believe it is,
Yes.
that's suing this
Norwegian cruise line.
Yeah, that's suing the attorney general in Florida because of the fact they are saying on their cruise ship they're going to follow the CDC and make sure that everybody that's on that cruise ship is vaccinated.
Yep. So back in April, Governor Ron DeSantis signed an executive order banning the use of COVID-19 passports in the state.
Right.
The order prohibited any government entity from issuing vaccine passports and blocks businesses from requiring any such documentation. Then the Senate passed a bill on May 3rd, making that executive order official. In Florida, your personal choice regarding vaccinations will be protected. No business or government entity will be able to deny you service based on your decision.
Yeah, but I have a problem with this because so now this cruise liner, let me just finish setting this up. The cruise liner is going to lose something like $4 million every 7 days if they continue to follow down this route and having to pay a fine for people who are if it's operation in Florida to operate in Florida.
Okay.
And I don't think the governor has any authority necessarily over that business to say what they can and can't have inside of their own company.
Right.
What he should have done was say, where is the most free operating economy and how do I promote people to that? Right. So, hey, here goes. And then there's another cruise ship, which is really interesting, who is following the Florida operational standards about who can be vaccinated or not requiring it.
Yeah.
But then they're charging insurance for unvaccinated people. Yeah. Well, that's still the script. I can't understand for the life of me, for people right now who are so sensitive about discrimination and disparities, how in the world can we not see something so discriminatory?
If voter ID is racist, vaccine passports have to be racist.
Well,
I mean, it have to be.
No, you don't understand. You don't understand. There's nothing about this that's logical and rational.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. It's back to the point. Which kind of riot and protest is okay? The kind that gives the government more power.
Right.
That's the kind that's okay.
But DeSantis is operating in the same sort of power.
Exactly. That's the problem. Is this?
Does a business
Blaine talk.
I'll ask Blaine this. How about this? Does a business have the right to require its employees to be vaccinated?
I think so. And I think that's a liberty of contract issue. When you enter into contract with your employer, you guys come to terms that are mutually agreed upon.
Right.
And the second the government starts getting involved and saying to employers, you can require these terms but not these terms, that's a really dangerous precedent, especially for Christian-owned businesses, for Christian ministries. We got to be really careful before we let the government get into
exactly.
Yeah.
So I guess then
I can require all my employees to be circumcised.
Yeah, you can require that. You can absolutely require that.
And let's see how many employees you got.
Right, exactly.
That's the thing, right? No one's forcing these employees to work at your business.
But I think the problem. So I think the problem for me here is that there's certain employees that are already working. Let's say, so in Idaho, here's a good example. In Idaho, there's 3 hospitals that are requiring all their employees to get vaccinated. In Idaho, I have a problem with them kind of forcing current employees to be vaccinated. I don't have a problem with them, let's say, their hiring requirements to say, hey, we're only hiring those who are vaccinated.
That goes back to what Blaine was saying.
But
the contract that they entered into.
Well, but they entered into a contract, an employment before the hospital started requiring.
Well, then they can sue and say, "Hey, you know what? This is not the contract that we said we agreed to."
If there's a contract that you can actually appeal to, then you can bring them to court and you can say they're breaking contract,
right?
And you can have that
because I'd have a problem with the hospital forcing current employees who didn't have the vaccine wasn't required, or the what do you call it's not even a vaccine. It's a
gene therapy.
Yeah.
They exactly what
they
it is.
changed the definition of vaccine back in October to make this happen, and to basically do some sort of require employees to participate in experimental vaccine.
Right. Yeah.
Now, if the employees kind of willingly came in under hire under that concept, then that makes a lot of sense.
The biblically, the civil magistrate's job is to punish evildoers, criminals, people who actually break God's criminal law.
Yep.
And enforce equal weights and measures.
Yeah.
Okay, that is a legitimate job, because what you're doing is preventing theft.
That's right.
And punishing theft. And so equal weights and measures includes reading contracts.
That's right.
And actually adjudicating disputes between contracts, because there's a matter of property and income when it comes to contracts.
And that's loving your neighbor too.
So there's a legitimate job there, but that's different than telling a private business what they can and cannot do with regard to vaccines or workplace conditions or all the rest of it. I mean, this is a slippery slope.
And we've already slipped, bro.
Exactly. And so, I mean, for all the good that DeSantis has done, and I appreciate the fact that he's pushed back and he's been one of the few conservative, sort of champions of freedom.
He's got the right heart.
And we appreciate that, but we need to get some Theonomists in there with him to help him remember that, like, look, bro, rather than playing the regulation game, which conservatives too often do, and then you will lose because the liberals will take that regulation and then they will come back and they'll kick Christians in the head with it.
Yeah, they will.
He needs to deregulate Florida.
That's right.
Open up a completely free economy and watch what freedom does. Let the forces of the marketplace
and watch an unvaccinated cruise line pop up.
Exactly.
That doesn't penalize people who aren't vaccinated by getting insurance.
Let the market decide.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's not like we haven't seen this before. When the market is operating somewhat free, look at what happened in Black America. We can still create things like Black Wall Street without having to do it in such a long amount of time. So maybe this is a good time to flee those things that aren't working and start creating our own entities.
Cut the red tape.
That's right. More Cross Politic up next.
Hi, I'm Robert Borton, CEO of Classical Conversations. Our most precious commodity is time. No one has ever lied on their deathbed wishing they had spent more time making money. They all wish they had spent more time creating a legacy. Our modern education system steals that legacy, steals that time from our children. That's why I'm passionate about homeschooling. That's why at Classical Conversations we want to give you more time to create that legacy, follow your passions, and glorify God. Visit classicalconversations.com for more information.
A little late.
Hey, yeah.
You're a little rusty. Boom, boom.
Welcome back to Cross Politic on the one and only Fight Laugh Feast Network.
You're wearing a Rick Warren T-shirt.
No, man.
That's a total Rick Warren.
That's my beat shirt.
Pulpit shirt
my
right there. That's a Rick Warren pulpit shirt.
I don't preach in this shirt.
I was going to say, at least he don't preach.
I don't preach in this. I just hang out with my friends on Cross Politic in this shirt.
Yeah, that was rude. Don't give him communion on Sunday. That was bad.
Hey, this segment's brought to you by Dime Payments.
Message.
I'm excited to tell you.
Yeah.
That's not even English there. I'm excited to let you know. Oh, that's what it says. About our new partnership with Dime Payments. Message. I really am excited. Dime Payments is a Christian-owned processing payment business. Every business needs a payment processing system. I should have read this before the show. Yeah. So please go to dimepayments.com/FLF.
Fight Laugh Feast.
Sign your business up. Working with them actually supports us, Cross Politic, and they won't cancel you like Stripe canceled President Trump.
Yes.
They won't cancel you like MailChimp canceled the Babylon Bee.
Mm-hmm.
Check them out at least.
Like PayPal did Uncle Gary and those guys at American Vision. Just won't
for real.
Always in threes. Always in threes.
Yes, at least have a phone call. Tell them that Cross Politic sent you. Go to dimepayments.com/FLF.
And actually, their rates will beat Stripe. Their rates are lower. If you mention Cross Politic, they'll give you better rates than even Stripe.
Say that for the people in the back.
Right.
We got with us today Blaine Conzotti. Did I get it right?
You did.
All right. Served as the president of Idaho Family Policy Center. He led the charge to get the heartbeat bill, the No Public Funds for Abortion Act, and Simon's Law enacted until Idaho law. He also directed efforts to mobilize conservative grassroots in support of the first in the nation Fairness in Women's Sports Act, no boys in girls' locker rooms.
Same thing.
When he was 19, Blaine became a Christian, subsequently left a career as an aspiring rock and jazz musician.
On what
Stop
instrument?
it.
What instrument?
Guitar.
All right.
Okay.
So we could study theology.
Hey, we got a guitar in here.
Oh man,
Government-
You could tickle the strings.
Don't do that to me.
Oh, we should have him do
He's
that.
like, I haven't let that.
All right.
The powers of God.
We got third segment. Don't worry.
Yeah.
He studied theology, government, and economics at Liberty University and Regent. Before joining Idaho Family Policy Center, Blaine previously worked for one of our allied state organizations, Family Policy Institute of Washington. Additionally, he spent several years teaching humanities, theology, and apologetics at Classic Christian High School in Fairfax, Virginia.
Yeah, you did.
He and his wife, Anna, enjoy raising their family in beautiful Treasure Valley,
You got kids?
Idaho.
I do.
You baptized them kids?
Yes,
What
absolutely.
in the
He
world?
came ready.
Come on,
He came ready for that. He knew that was coming.
You all right, Blaine? You all right,
Blaine's like, yes.
Yep. He's not going to play you a song.
No, that's
but
okay.
He baptized his kids.
It's fine. He plays songs to
So,
the kids.
Blaine, can you just explain for our audience, what is the Idaho Family Policy Center and what do you do for it?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm excited to be here with you guys. Pumped. So Idaho Family Policy Center is a nonprofit Christian ministry.
Yeah.
We seek to advance the lordship of Christ in the public square.
Woo!
ways.
Give him something.
He just went Kuiper.
Okay.
Bars.
I see what this is going to be. I'm just going to have it ready.
Get the
when it's
organ
time.
ready for him?
Get it ready. All right,
Oh, there we go. I love it.
all right, we ready for you now. All right.
So we seek to do that three ways. First, we promote biblically sound public policy. Second is we equip Christians to advance the lordship of Christ in their communities by teaching them the biblical foundations for cultural issues. And the third way is we train statesmen to faithfully discharge their duties, their responsibilities as civil ministers, ministers of God in the civil sphere, so that they can be good representatives of God's justice to the people.
Wow. I didn't even know such things existed in this world. I thought we were just sort of. That's amazing.
How big are you guys?
He's my friend.
Yeah.
Well,
At least he was before the show.
we'll ask him at the end of the show. So how big are you guys? What's your reach?
Yeah, so we're growing right now. It's myself. I got an assistant, and we partner with lots of local churches to do day-long training seminars for Christians on biblical worldview, cultural engagement. What does that cultural commission look like? We're growing, and we're excited about the impact we've been having out here in the Gem State.
So this last Idaho legislative session, was it the longest session in history?
It was.
I thought I'd read that.
Really?
The longest legislative session in history. Why was it so long? I mean, I know some of the big things. I know you had a hand in a few particular pieces of legislation, but I know kind of overshadowing a lot of it had to do with what happened here with the COVID, the 2020 shutdown, and a bunch of pushes to try to close some gaps, to give us some more protection from overreaching governors.
Break it down. I want to know.
Can you give us kind of an overview of what happened?
Yeah, so like most states, our governor, when COVID came around, really exceeded his constitutional limits, right? As the executive, he began appropriating funds, which is a responsibility the Constitution gives to the legislature, not to the governor. He issued edicts to local governments and really encouraged local governments to step in and interfere in the lives of their citizens. So there was a disagreement in our state legislature as how best to remedy the problem.
Okay.
Our House of Representatives really wanted to tame the governor's emergency powers, but that caused heartburn in the Senate over the issue of federal funds. So our state legislature ultimately was willing to sacrifice the liberties of the people in order to keep the federal funds flowing to Idaho.
Wow.
Because if they would have limited the governor's powers, there's a chance we could have lost
federal money.
So it was all over the money. It was about securing the bag.
Wow. So they sold our liberty.
Yep.
Over a check.
The Senate sold our liberty.
Yep.
Okay. So everybody in Idaho.
Our Senate is actually pretty soft and not very good. Our House is actually pretty good.
But this is the question then you need to be asking. I mean, one of the brilliant things, it's kind of weird and I don't know that I understand it, but there's perks to it. In Idaho, the Senate is reelected every 2 years, just like the House.
Yep.
Which means you can kick those bums out.
Yeah.
Right? Every 2 years you have an opportunity to ask your senator, Okay, did you sell us out?
So how much money were we talking about, Blaine? How much?
We don't even know. You're saying
oh
it
my
was a
goodness,
threat.
there's been tons. So there's been 3 stimulus packages. The state has gotten money from each of them. I don't even know the grand sum.
It's billions. It's billions of dollars.
Tons of money.
But you're not saying we didn't even know for sure we were going to lose it.
Yeah.
You were saying it was a threat, or it was a question, like, if we pass this limiting of his emergency powers, we might lose those federal funds. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So we didn't actually lose it.
So do you think our legislators next session are going to come back and try to seal that tight, or do you think it's kind of done?
I think it's done.
Man. Wow. We were having so much fun before you came on the show. You were talking.
You know what? We've done good things. We can talk about the good things that have happened in the last couple of years.
I still want to keep going through this. So at what point? So who's fighting back? Heather Scott, I know she's fighting back. Who are some people who
She's in the House, though, right?
But she's in the House.
She's in the House. Okay, so who in the Senate was pushing back? Do you know?
Yeah, we got a few really great senators. A few.
Okay.
You had Senator Regina Baer out of Meridian, who was pushing back hard on this stuff. Senator Christy Zito out of Hammett, who was pushing back really hard. Okay. We have some champions of liberty in the Senate for sure, but it's not the predominant predisposition of the Senate.
So then, I guess this is kind of related, but not necessarily connected. When you saw Lieutenant Governor Janice McGeachin get up there and for governor for a day, and she decided to remove the mask mandate.
No, what she did is she made it illegal for the government or the local health regions to
mandate it.
Yeah, okay.
So,
that's what she did.
So that move right there, I kind of want to shift. We'll come back. I kind of want to shift that move right there. What are your thoughts on that move?
Yeah, I liked it. And
I like Blaine.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Blaine already.
The cities, the municipalities are creations of the state government. And the state government can define the limits within which those local governments operate.
Yep.
So it is not an overreach for the state government to regulate what the local governments are allowed to do. It's not like if the federal government were to come in and tell the state governments what to do, right? Because those are equal partners in our federal system.
Yeah.
But when the state limits what local governments can do, that's totally fine. I wish the legislature would have had an appetite to take that on. Right? I'm always reluctant to support executive orders. But very clearly, I think in this instance, Lieutenant Governor McGeachin, she was acting as a lesser magistrate, interposing herself to protect the rights of the people.
Defending the rights of the people.
Yep.
Yeah, which is a legitimate thing to do.
So then right now, she's kind of decided to come out, I think, and run, right?
Yeah, she's running for governor.
So, I mean, does do you think she's committing suicide here? Does she have enough people behind her saying, no, absolutely, we should?
We'll see.
Do you have any idea what the field looks like? I mean, do you think that, did people rally behind her?
I think it's a bold move. I'm proud of what she's doing.
It's a bold move. Yeah. And the thing is, when you show courage, people start coming around.
That's a good point.
Yes.
Idaho's a tough state, and Idaho is a majority LDS state. It's more moderate than many people would think.
Right.
There's a reason why Governor Brad Little is governor.
Right.
So we'll see how it all shakes out.
Yeah. Okay.
Interesting.
So what from your vantage, what's the biggest? I don't know if these are two different questions or the same question. What's the biggest problem facing Idaho? And maybe related to that would be and maybe what's the most strategic thing that you're working on currently to face in Idaho? I don't know if those are the same thing or different. But
so, like many people that I've met as I've traveled around the state, my family moved to Idaho because we wanted a place where our wallet would not be taxed away, where our right to practice our religion would be honored.
That's why you didn't move to Latah County.
Yeah.
Wow. Bars.
Where our ability to raise our children, according to our dictates of faith, would be respected. So that's why we moved to Idaho.
Right.
The biggest threat to that way of life is the federal government.
Okay.
And we have to find ways to start standing up to the federal government.
Not the Idaho government?
No, man.
Well, I mean, if it's the federal money, federal stimulus.
Yeah, they got hooks in you.
And do you see places? What are the flashpoints for that? I mean, other than obviously we failed at this most recent legislative session with trying to just limit emergency powers of our governor. Where are some of the flashpoints of that currently?
Yeah, so I think the biggest issue that's coming down the pike right now is the girls' bathroom issue.
Yep.
Really?
So
I thought we won that one.
Oh, man. So last month, the Biden administration issued a mandate that any schools receiving federal funds have to allow boys into girls' bathrooms, locker rooms, showers. They can't.
So this
boys
started
away from
under
girls.
Obama.
It did.
This started under Obama.
So they
remember that.
They renewed that mandate.
Yes, they did.
Wow.
They took a different tact to renew it to get around the legal challenges that came about last time. But they did it. And here's the thing, man. So the Idaho School Board Association just sent out a letter to all the local school districts telling them, you got to do it. You got to do it.
Wow.
So we got to choose. Right, the Biden administration is going to make us choose.
Yeah, right.
Do we want to keep on receiving these federal funds, which is about 9% of our local school district revenue?
Okay.
These federal funds, or are we going to start protecting our girls?
Yeah.
The privacy of our girls, the safety of our girls, making sure they're protected.
Right.
This is an issue the state has to
Do you think
there's
any chance of Idaho pushing back on that?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that there's an appetite.
From what sector, though? Is the governor going to push back on it?
So it's going to have to be an effort from the state legislature. Here's the thing. We're going to have to withdraw from the federal education funds, from Title IX, from Title I, from the other federal titles that deal with education. Yep. It'll be really good, though, in the long run, right?
Yeah.
Because you get out from underneath the burden of getting those, there's no more issue of compliance.
Right.
There's so many strings attached to receiving those federal funds.
Yes, there is.
And all the compliance costs, all those diversity and inclusion positions, all those administrative positions.
All that goes away.
All that goes away.
Right. I don't
education
think
becomes
where the
cheaper.
pressure is going to come from, though?
Where?
Is all these teams are like, University of Idaho is going to want to play sports, play against, University of Washington or something like that, and they won't be allowed to because they won't be part of Title IX anymore.
Do you think is all of this under the same
They'll
umbrella?
lose their NCAA standing.
Are the colleges and,
then we make a new one.
K through 12 schools all under the exact same umbrella?
Title IX applies to any school, college or primary school or secondary school that receives federal funds. No state has pulled out of the federal education funding. So we'll be the first, and we have no idea what the ramifications will be. But let me tell you whatever the ramifications are, it's worth it to protect our girls.
That's right.
It's worth it.
Wow.
That's right.
See, we need politicians that are willing to say that, though. It's like, even our girl, Kristi Noem in South Dakota is like, let's work a deal, guys. I don't want to get kicked out of the NCAA or whatever. And, but is it worth it for our daughters?
Yeah.
Is it worth it for our sisters, our mothers?
For our freedom?
Our wives? Yeah, to protect them and for our freedom? Yeah, absolutely worth it.
Well, so right now, the way that's looking, I think pulling out is actually going to be good for us. It's going to make us take some responsibility that we're not taking. But what does it look like for private institutions? They don't take any government. They can still do what they want to do, right? Private education.
Yeah. Well, a lot of private schools, both Christian high schools, but also Christian colleges, do take federal funds.
They take Title IX.
Right.
So this is why New St. Andrews is such a big partner with what we're doing.
Right.
Is because they don't take federal funds.
Yeah, from jump. I mean, this is one of those places where people like Pastor Wilson and others who founded the college were like, this is written into our documents. We will never take a cent from federal funding.
We don't really know what we're giving up at that point, do we? When we take federal funding, we have no idea.
Yeah. No, they always knew that there'd be, there's always strings attached.
Yeah.
Always strings, and now it's like, no, there's hooks attached.
Yeah.
Now there's like, chains attached.
Put that cheese in the mouse trap, right?
Exactly.
And then once that mouse gets in there, it's trapped.
So
what does Robert Borton say? He who takes the king's coin.
No, with the shekels come the shackles.
Yeah, with the shekels come the shackles. Yeah.
So what's another place? Okay, that's the number one place that right now that you're saying, hey, that's going to be a really big issue.
And you think there's a good chance Idaho is going to actually pull out?
I think that there's a better chance here than anywhere else.
Really?
Okay. Remember, I can't remember what law it was, but we passed a constitutional law here that fought against the federal government coming for our guns to protect the Second Amendment rights here in Idaho, all the way down to accessories for guns, so like bump stocks, those laws, and they don't apply to us. Can we do something like that too? Is that the way to go, where we create some sort of legislation here that says whatever the federal government says as far as education, we're not going to partake in?
Yep.
Is that the way to go? Or
how do we do it?
Okay. So we would have to do that same sort of. So what was that take? They take the House and the Senate to come to an agreement on something and pass that legislation signed by a governor.
Yep.
Dang. Okay. No, I see your faces and budgets, so I'm gonna trust that you think we can do that.
Is Little's going to sign it?
We'll see. Campaign year, man. Campaign year.
He's like, maybe Little won't be there. Oh! I want to know some of the other places that you think that we need to be maneuvering inside of Idaho and how
we got to talk about ending abortion in Idaho.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? More cross-politic coming up next.
My name is Jamie Piles. I joined Samaritan in December of 1996, so I'm coming up on 24 years. When people ask me, does it really work? I say, oh, it works fantastic. I send my money to somebody every month. But we had a need with my wife. Spent a little bit of time in the hospital about 3 months ago, and so I had a checklist with about 39 names on it, and 39 checks came in. Some of the cards, some of the things people had to say, it was amazing to watch.
You okay, Gabe?
Are you still mad?
That last segment was pretty emotional for me. I started out so excited, and then Blaine just kind of pulled the air out of the room.
Idaho Family Policy Center.
And then I kind of ended angry. I was like a little angry towards the end of that segment.
Our Senate
very emotional.
What? They sold us. They sold us.
You know, I'm gonna tell you guys, being sold, not a good sign.
Yeah. You been there before?
Yeah, it's my people.
Welcome back to Cross Politic, y'all. This segment's brought to you by Classical Conversations.
Our people.
Classical Conversations has been with us from jump.
Yes.
They have supported Cross Politic, and so we always want to encourage you. Check them out. If you don't have a solution for Christian education in your hometown, check out Classical Conversations. They probably have a group, probably have multiple groups meeting in your area.
That's right.
Also, Classical Conversations is hiring. They have 10 job openings, this says.
Man.
You can go to cchomeoffice.com, cchomeoffice.com/jobs-2. That's kind of funny.
I don't know.
That's what the link says.
All right.
Anyways.
There's probably, you can go to cchomeoffice.com and probably find the jobs.
Check it out. But they've got 10 job openings. You're looking for work, looking to support, work for a Christian company.
Maybe the 2 is for us so people know that we sent them. Hello.
Yeah. Jobs-2.
Yeah.
Check it out. Try it. Tell them we sent you.
It's not that.
Either
way, yeah. Always tell them we sent you.
Yeah. So, Blaine.
Make us happy, Blaine.
I'll do it.
We got.
Get rid of my anger.
I know that, we have to be faithful Christians. We need to be thoughtful Christians. There's lots going on. We got to be faithful in our marriages. We got to be faithful in our families. We got to be faithful in education.
Yeah.
In all these areas. But obviously, there's also a major concern when they're killing babies. In our state. We care about it in every state, but these are our neighbors. These are our closest neighbors.
In Idaho.
So what's the landscape? Can you paint the landscape? I know you were involved heavily in a heartbeat bill this last year, which I believe passed.
Yes.
And what's the landscape and what's next?
Yeah, so we got the heartbeat bill passed this year. That was really exciting. We were the 14th state in the country to pass a heartbeat bill. Mm-hmm. And most people don't even realize that a heart begins to beat in a baby at 6 weeks of gestational age.
Right.
Amazingly.
And probably before that.
But at least we know about it then.
You can detect it. You can detect it at 6 weeks.
Right.
Yes, it begins to beat at 18 days. So it was really exciting to get the heartbeat bill done. Unfortunately, heartbeat bills are working their way through the court system right now. Mm-hmm. Not a single heartbeat bill is in effect. Really, for the last
not a single one, even the one that Texas passed. That's not even.
So the Texas one, I guess, did go into effect on July 1st.
Okay.
So we'll see how that plays out.
We assume it's just going to get tied up in courts pretty quick.
Yes.
In our heartbeat bill here in Idaho, it basically, you wrote it in such a way where like it'll go into effect once the federal courts. Once the other heartbeat bills go through the federal courts.
All right, so I'll let you guys in on a dirty little secret.
Uh-oh.
You hear it here.
Don't get mad, Gabe.
No.
Our Attorney General
he's going to get mad.
He's going to get mad.
Is very reluctant to defend state laws in federal courts.
He's very reluctant to do almost anything from what I understand.
He is. So he's really risk averse.
Yep.
And, there's some reason for it. We're in the Ninth Circuit. It's a tough federal circuit
to
defend laws in.
Yep.
But his job as state attorney general his job as state attorney general is to defend the laws that are passed by the legislature. Right? He will not defend a heartbeat bill in court unless there is favorable precedent somewhere that he can rely upon when he's defending the law.
Okay.
So
it's not enough that babies are being butchered.
Yeah.
Wow, he's a racist.
So we're delaying the lawsuit until after another state's heartbeat law is upheld and there's good precedent. It kind of forces the attorney general, okay, now you have no excuse.
Now you have to.
You have to defend the law in court.
Yep.
So that was a strategy that we took.
So that's how the law is written that passed. It says once one other heartbeat bill is upheld by a court, he has to defend it.
He doesn't legally have to defend it. You could say he has a fiduciary duty to defend it.
Okay.
But at that point he would have favorable precedent. Now he has no excuse. Okay. Right? No excuse.
And the law goes into effect in Idaho.
Yes.
Right? So what's helpful about this is that's kind of our scorecard. Like we in Idaho, the best thing we can muster up in our legislative session and with our attorney general is a heartbeat bill. We can't even end abortion. We can muster up a heartbeat bill that doesn't go into effect until another state's heartbeat bill goes through the federal courts and wins.
Right.
So
that's that's the best we could have done in Idaho this last year. That's a horrible scorecard.
Right.
So have you guys talked to him in any kind of like?
Yeah,
is he a believer of any sort? Is he Mormon?
LDS, yeah.
Okay.
So
comma, chameleon.
I'm just trying to what?
Just singing. He's trying not to get mad.
I think this is humming.
It's like how he like takes, some people like breathe deeply to try to.
I would explain later.
So Blaine, Blaine, is there another way to go past him on this?
Yeah, I think
maybe even at the local level, like just say, how do we say, you know what, forget you.
Here's the thing.
Sanctuary city?
Yes.
Let me throw this at you. So, I have been, I appreciate the abolitionist movement.
Yes.
Definitely do. I appreciate it. I think they're doing a lot of them are doing a lot of good work. It's a little screechy for me sometimes. It's a little angry for me sometimes. I think sometimes strategically they fall on their faces.
Their ecclesiology can be a little
roll
screwy.
The comment thread.
Okay. So I've got concerns, but nevertheless, I believe in ending abortion. Absolutely. It's murder. We do not compromise with murder. It's evil. It's wicked. It needs to end. I have no problem with heartbeat bills because I think at the very least it's a rhetorical victory. We get to talk about beating hearts. Yeah. And the world thinks we're ending abortion. Like, at least that's how they panic in the news. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, we haven't really ended anything. But they're like, it's nearly a complete ban because, by the time you detect a heartbeat, it's too late. And I'm like, great. Great. So it's a rhetorical victory. And I don't buy any of the nonsense about that we're somehow saying it's okay to kill them before that. Yeah. Absolutely not. We're not saying that at all. No. We're in a fight. And when you're in a fight, you throw everything you got at them.
Sometimes it's a jab.
And exactly. And it's like, poke them in the eye and then come back and punch them. Now, I don't like overblown rhetoric that says since we passed something that doesn't really do much yet, that we won or something. Yeah. It's tiny little, we moved the football forward 2 yards.
Yep. Or that's all we could ever do.
And praise God for that. But after the shutdowns last year, I became, I think, even more sort of like, I sort of assumed, the government is trying, but they just can't. They would do something if they could, but they just can't.
Yeah.
And then Governor Little told me that, we had to shut down. He told me
our buddy's restaurant couldn't open.
He told me lives were at stake. People might die. And just unilaterally just declared an emergency and shut it down. And I said, snap.
Oh, you have some power, huh?
If lives are at stake, you can just shut it down. And I'm like right up down to the edge of this, like, okay, that's it. I'm done.
Yeah.
Don't tell me like we got to do one step first and then the other because people might die. We got 1,300 babies getting murdered every year in this state. Like not might, but are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So at what point do we, I don't know, just get a little bit more smash mouth on this and say, screw Roe versus Wade?
Because it's not law anyway.
And screw the courts.
Yeah.
I mean, and I know obviously you got to pass that, but we did that with Second Amendment rights, basically.
Yeah.
You can't take our guns,
Yeah, we passed that law.
What about life? What about our babies? And what are the chances of us saying, no, never mind. We don't care about the courts. We're not killing babies in our state. It's illegal. And send in the troops.
Yeah. I think in order to do that, you need a governor and an attorney general with the cojones and the spine to stand up.
Yeah.
And right now, we're not in a place where that's possible.
Well, and
I think if we have a different governor and a different attorney general in place, the calculation changes entirely.
Yeah. And I think we have the governor and attorney general that rightly represent us too. I think we're that way.
What about
we're soft?
We're soft.
Yeah. And what about? And I agree. I mean,
because
it represents us well.
Well, at the local level, I watched during the pandemic. Watch the people. I mean, down in Lewiston, which I think might be a good place to start thinking about county pro-life situations. They said, I remember watching the video, you put a mask and force a mask on us and see if I don't catch you outside with a gun. Like they was like, that's how far.
They were like, hey, we got a Second Amendment to your mask.
Right.
Lewiston's a bunch of hillbillies.
Yeah.
You don't mess with them.
Right. But it's that kind of attitude and culture that says, you know what? You're not going to enforce on us your dictates.
Yeah.
And so you can take that same thing and say, well, hold on. Why don't we apply that all the way through and say in our county, in our environment,
no killing babies.
We don't kill people.
Right.
Period.
So that played out in Lubbock, Texas, as I'm sure you guys are aware.
Yeah.
And right now,
what state? What state was that?
That was Texas.
Oh my God.
And
He's
as
in the
of right
heart
now,
of Texas.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I love it. As of right now, the Planned Parenthood in Lubbock is not performing abortions.
Wow.
So, you know,
And why
Because
not?
what did they do? What did Lubbock do?
So-
what did Texas do?
Okay, Gabe, I already gave it to you. That's enough. You get no more.
the city passed an ordinance that bans abortion within city limits and does not include criminal penalties, but does include fines.
But it's banned.
Yep, and allows people to sue the abortion provider if the abortion provider is performing abortions.
Which people? Who gets to sue them?
Anyone.
The people.
So
For what offense?
The woman,
for killing
the woman's
their neighbors.
family, or
Yeah.
someone who has knowledge that an abortion has taken place.
Wow.
And so what are the penalties for lawsuit or what? Money or arrest? How does that work?
It's no arrests,
Fines.
Fines.
Uh,
Okay.
not really even fines. It's civil damages and monetary damages.
Okay. Well, shoot.
And has this been taken to court yet?
It has.
Okay.
And the federal judge dismissed the lawsuit that Planned Parenthood and ACLU had filed against it. Some crazy legal technicalities. In order for you to sue to overturn a law, the government has to be enforcing the law to give you standing. And because the government, in this instance, is not the one enforcing the law, the people are by filing the lawsuits.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
There is no standing for Planned Parenthood
That's
to sue law
brilliant.
enforcement.
It's brilliant. and
Dripology.
but it's problematic too.
Yeah.
Because this is, I mean, I like the fact that it's going in our direction.
Yeah.
But these are the kind of things that end up like catching us later. This is a parliamentary kind of trick that's working in our favor, but that's going to get worked out at some point, and that's not going to be something that's going to stand long term.
It's not a long-term solution.
No, it's
No.
for sure.
And
But
Planned
still,
Parenthood did not appeal the lawsuit because they don't know how to get standing. They will find
They
a way
will
to
find a
eventually
way.
get standing.
But still, what's helpful here is it shows us where the scorecard's at,
I'm
where
happy
we are at as a people.
And they're taking a bold step in the right
Yeah,
direction.
right, certainly.
And there's no abortions happening right now in Lubbock.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
so
I mean,
that's
there's-
not, don't get me wrong, I'm totally
Yeah.
for
No,
that.
that's fair, though.
But
That's
I want to
fair
be careful
pushback.
that, okay, so now what's our, look, we always, like we said, we get a good jab in and we're good.
Now what?
But where's the big punch at? And that's what we need to be thinking about. They should be thinking about there right now is we need to have that right hook ready for them wherever they're about to come for it.
Blaine.
And what's crazy about Lubbock, Texas, is that's where Texas Tech University is.
Oh, yeah. So there's
Major university
so
in Texas.
you got a lot of college girls.
Yeah, that's right.
That's really interesting. Blaine, so you said, until we have a governor and attorney general that's willing to actually stand up and fight, there's not a lot of promise in a defying Roe move. But what about the strategy of the legislature just passing laws that you know is likely you've got a governor that vetoes it, or you've got a governor that won't defend it, or an attorney general that won't defend it. But is there not is it not worth passing the law that says Roe versus Wade is not binding, it's immoral, it's wicked, and we hereby end abortion in Idaho, period. And you send it to the governor's office, and he vetoes it.
Yeah, I have no problem with that so long as it doesn't come at the cost of other pro-life measures that will actually yield results in the short term. Mm-hmm. Right. I think in the long term, you're right, but we can't, put all of our eggs into this basket or, make legislators vote against our other efforts because.
Why would they do that?
Yeah, I was going to ask a question.
Why would they vote? I mean, why would they vote against other efforts?
Yeah, so Idaho's a tough state. So the majority of our legislators are LDS, and LDS legislators in general believe in exceptions for rape and incest. Catholics generally and many evangelicals don't believe in criminal penalties for abortion,
right?
Because they view the woman as being a second victim.
Now, if we been in front of an abortion clinic ever, then have they?
Yeah, I mean, some women are and some women aren't, right?
Yeah.
I think that there are some women who don't have the men's right. There are some women who do.
Yeah, sure.
The large majority, though.
But you could. I mean, going back to the Lubbock example. I mean, even just saying we're ending it. No, starting with just ending it. You can't do it
with fines or whatever.
Fines or whatever. Like that would be just a clear. Without. And we say, yeah. I mean, down the road, that is criminal to do it. But I mean, what about just passing something now that says, no penalties, but it's illegal?
Yeah, I'd be all for it. Arkansas tried that this last year. Governor Hutchinson signed that bill into law. It's not going into effect, obviously. The tough thing is in a state like Idaho, and I have a lot of respect, for the abolitionists, but they do sometimes shoot themselves in the foot.
Yeah,
and one of the ways that they do that is, they want a perfect representation of God's justice in the bill as it exists right now, which means they're unwilling to consider dropping the criminal penalties. They're unwilling to, allow for exceptions to be put in. And from my perspective, I take the Wayne Grudem perspective. If you can ban 99% of abortions, do it and come back for the 1% later.
Right.
Partial justice is better than no justice. Partial justice is better than no justices. And so
I guess I wouldn't say it like that. I think I know what you mean, though.
Yeah. I have a problem with that nomenclature of like partial justice, but I understand what you're saying. I think part of what we're
it's triage. I mean, there's a principle of triage, which is like, I mean, if you've got a bunch of people that are dying or in danger, and you run in and you grab as many of them as you can and you haul them out. Yeah. I mean, it's not like you're not saying it's okay for you to kill the rest of them. You're saying this is all I can get right now.
Yeah,
I'll be back later for the rest of you.
So one of the analogies I use is divorce law, right? Yeah. And our divorce law has just turned into a nightmare over the last 50 years since no-fault divorce has come in. If we can eliminate most of the no-fault divorce, but still leave a couple of the unbiblical reasons for divorce as an intermediary step to get to a biblical version of what marriage looks like and marriage covenant looks like, I'm willing to do that. I think that it's progress. That partial justice is
that scares me, because I think pragmatic approaches come in at the same time that don't really get us to that place. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I'm watching that same thing happen.
Well, the difference though is like
you have to be pretty hard-tailed to say this is what I want.
The thing that I really appreciate about the abolitionists is they're keeping the goal right in front of our faces, which we've got to keep in front of our faces. I totally appreciate that, because otherwise, I do think there's been a massive weakness in the pro-life movement in general that has been really satisfied with really mediocre results or nothing at all, basically, and then they just sort of prop up their halfway meager results as like some kind of victory.
But you also see that in the pro-life movement when you actually talk about ending abortion and putting forward in abortion legislation. There's a huge hesitancy in the pro-life movement to actually do that.
Yeah, no, I get that.
I hate that.
And a lot of them have figured out how to play and operate and work inside of the system instead of kind of saying, no, I want to blow your whole system up. Some of that needs to happen.
I mean, if you're faithful, what you want to do is you want to work yourself out of a job.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't see it. Yes.
You don't want there to be a single pro-life organization left in 10 years.
Yeah.
Why? Because we were so successful that we completely eradicated it.
And we didn't need them.
And the churches are just being faithful.
Yeah. Right.
But I will say, though, it really bothers me, the abolitionist critique of pro-life organizations. I've been around a lot of pro-life organizations.
Yeah.
I've been around them. And I do not think that anyone that I've ever met in a pro-life group is trying to keep abortion legal in order to keep a job or to keep their organization going.
Yeah.
And it's, I have a lot of respect for Bill Askell. I have a lot of respect for those guys.
Yeah.
It's slander when they say that sort of stuff.
Well,
and they have to be really careful.
I don't know. What's our Idaho pro-life movement organization?
So
even him?
I know what you're talking about. In that instance, I think that there is a risk aversion, but I don't think it's because he desperately wants to end abortion. I know that. I know he does.
But we had him on the show.
No, we didn't.
Oh no, not that. Okay, no. I'm sorry. It was a legislator.
I'm not going to bring any attention to this guy.
Wrong pronoun.
Here's a problem I've seen though, is that the abolitionist movement has seen too much them pushing for pro-life. And instead of getting embraced and saying, hey, brother, let me show you how to operate and let me do, they've kind of been shut down. And even their opportunities, the people have gone on the other side with the pro-choice folks and voted against things that they're pushing. And they've done it to save their own hides and to save their own bills. And I don't think that's...
There's a huge disagreement in strategy. And I mean, the abolitionists...
But you know what, though? Fredo never betrayed a family. Never betrayed a family. No, we can disagree. But when you start,
don't join the opposition.
You lose me when you start doing that.
Well, so here's the thing, man. And again, I have tons of respect for abolition. I consider myself an abolitionist, not an immediatist. I would not consider myself. I
think I was the same way.
But you had abolitionists out here in Idaho who were advocating against the heartbeat bill, advocating against our bill to defund Planned Parenthood.
Yeah.
They never showed up for Simon's Law, which was a bill to protect parental rights and medical decisions for their kids. They never showed up to oppose the Planned Parenthood bill that would have required health insurance companies.
They're not robust.
Well, they're opposing the pro-life laws more than they are opposing the pro-choice bills.
So they're being Fredo too.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a breakdown, and we need to find a way to mend it because both approaches are necessary in order to get this done.
And I get, like, I can imagine scenarios where in some cases maybe just their conscience is like, I can't support this particular play. Fine.
Yeah.
But that's not the same
but
thing.
But you don't get in the way.
As being protesting against it.
Right.
And,
that's what I'm
running against it. Like you can, okay, you say, I can't support that in good conscience. Fine. Well, then, use your energy and time serving the Lord Jesus some other way.
Yeah.
Defending the unborn some other way. But that's different than you going onto the other side and shooting at your own people.
Yeah. I'm of the all of the above approach.
Yeah.
Like any pro-life bill, any bill to end abortion, to strike at the heart of abortion, to defund abortion, anything, I'll support.
I have a caveat with that. As long as it's in certain contexts that doesn't hurt us ultimately, because some of the things I think will end up because people won't say, well, this is all we're going to get, and they stand there and they block the things that would actually get us further. I think we need to be strategic about the things like, hey, bro, write this bill better. Just because it's a pro-life heartbeat bill doesn't mean I want to be behind it. I wanted to have a push. Where's the door open like they did with the Southern Baptist Convention with Bill Askell? They pushed a certain direction, and all of a sudden the momentum has shifted to where it was before. Regardless of what they were trying to do with gutting it, it's moved a trajectory that is closer towards the goal.
So here's why the scorecard is so helpful here in Idaho. Is because now we got all these legislators to sign off that, hey, we're willing to deal with abortion at the heartbeat, when the heartbeat comes. And so now you can go to next legislation session as a legislator and say, hey, look, we passed this bill. It doesn't go in effect until another state goes through the federal court systems. So, hey, we got this far, but hey, people, this is not enough.
Right.
This bill is not enough, and we should all be grateful that we got this far. We need to go farther.
Right.
I think also, too, I was thinking about
But that's how you disciple, because there's
what
Mormons, there's LDS, there's all these people that you just brought along to get to this point, and now we know it's not far enough.
Guys, in Nineveh, when it was time for the gospel to be preached there, it didn't start at the top. It didn't start by implementing laws. It started from a revival ground underneath. And so I'm with you. I want to end it. And I know that we need to put laws in place, but that comes after people have been transformed. Nate Wilson said something to me because I lean way more on the abolitionist side with come on, with kind of some pushback towards them, kind of probably like we just got done having. But Nate said, do you really want these judges implementing those laws that you're talking about?
Yeah.
And I thought about that for a second. I was like, we have a problem. Yeah. We have a problem. If, let's say we just change the laws and these judges don't understand and they don't have transformed hearts while they're viewing this, it doesn't really matter. We're still going to have the same culture. And people are just going to find a way to do it without being seen. It doesn't suppress it. We want a people that have changed hearts and look at the imago Dei in the womb and say, why are we doing this to human beings?
Right. Revival precedes Reformation.
That's right. But that happens, though, in community with each other. This is why the church is so important. When the church is operating and functioning together and hospitality is a part of the culture of our gospel that we're proclaiming, come in, taste, and see. And you're sitting down with people. People look at the world and say, it's beautiful.
Yeah, the militants we're called to is discipleship.
That's right.
Discipleship is all of these. It's discipleship in, how do you feast together?
Yes.
How do your families love one another? How do you raise your kids in the Lord so that they love your God and they love the gospel with you and they teach their kids to do the same?
That's pro-life.
That's exactly. But you have to think of discipleship. It's this whole thing. It's this whole gamut, and of course it includes things like we don't kill our babies,
right?
And we don't want our neighbors to kill their babies either. And the civil magistrate has to bow the knee. The churches need to bow the knee. The families need to bow the knee. But it's got to be this discipleship is this broad thing. It's all of life, all of Christ for all of life. We have to have all of it. But you can't just. You're not going to run one little play up the middle, and then somehow magically everything
falls into place.
It's not going to fall into place.
This is why I said this earlier. This is why I think the conference on the politics of sex is so important and very timely right now. Because look at it. We said this earlier in the week. What happens between a man and a woman acting like a man and a woman acting like a woman in relationship together with their own children produces a certain type of culture. When you look at the abortion rate that's up here, what you have is a whole bunch of trans stuff in marriage. Nobody's being responsible for who they are. No. Are you a man? Act like a man. Be godly. Be like Christ. Are you a woman? Act like the church. Be a woman to your husband. Those things create a culture that deals with 99% of the problems that we have. alcoholism, crime. Whose son is that? I know your parents. You know, like all that stuff is worked out in fellowship and community with each other, which is why in 2020 they shouldn't have shut down the churches. Because they destroyed society when they did that. And so the politics of sex, this is why people are thinking about just one thing with the politics of sex. No, the politics of sex influences every else in culture, which is why it's so important that you come out to the conference in Lebanon, Tennessee. FightLaughFeast.com.
September 9th through the 11th.
Gabe?
You know, U.S. overdose deaths this last year, I think, rose by like 29% because of the shutdown. I mean, just to...
Blaine, thanks for being on the show with us.
Appreciate
your work here in Idaho, man.
Yeah, thank you, Blaine.
Keep up the fight. If you're single, get married. If you're married, have kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until next week, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politic.
We did not design a cookie-cutter curriculum meant to chop students into appropriately shaped submissives or snowflakes for the secular zeitgeist. We designed our curriculum the way we did because we want our graduates to be equipped to stand courageously against that destructive zeitgeist and to honor their maker and how they, body, mind, and soul, battle to save their communities and the entire Western world from our current diseased insanity. New St. Andrews College is not in the business of rubber stamping graduates for this particular job market or that particular career. We aren't happy unless our graduates are equipped to tackle any constructive cultural task anywhere, from courtrooms to hospitals to job sites to movie sets to the highest risk job and the most important setting of all, the raising and training of the next generation of immortal souls around dining room tables and in pews. The world may have gone mad, but it's not the first time. It has been saved before and by particular people, many of whom shared a very particular type of education. Augustine, Calvin, Jefferson, Churchill, and many lesser-known heroes in times of madness all had one type of education, one type of training in common. And it's the same kind of rigorous education we currently pursue surrounded by the rolling wheat fields of Idaho. By God's grace, our civilization will be saved, or rebuilt, from the smoking ruins. The men and women capable of such a task, capable of fearless joy and fiery laughter, all while undertaking such hard cultural labor, those are the kind of graduates we want, the kind we expect. They are why we exist, and why we teach what we teach. So you might call it a major in world building, or culture shaping, or a major in saving civilization. We call it classical, Christian, liberal arts. New St. Andrews College, saving civilization since 1994.